You know, Richard Wolff is one of my favorite people, at least from the standpoint of a Marxist. And his appraisal of the world through that particular lens I have found to be amazingly helpful in my understanding of the world. There are, right now, some propagandists afoot. Those propagandists, for the standpoint of the West, are out there trying to make the argument that the yellow vests are being pushed by Russians and that they are somehow Russian propaganda. Now, if you remember, the same thing took place in the United States, where they tried to say the Sanders phenomena, they tried to say environmental movement, Black Lives Matter, everything was Russian propaganda. Nothing, no responsibility was laid at the foot of the system itself from the standpoint of the angst and the anger that was within the society. It was all Russian propaganda, just propagandists. The Republicans pointed to immigrants, Democrats pointed to Russians. The same thing is now taking place from the standpoint of the yellow vests. This is immensely belittling. It's as if they believe that the people who are out there angry and indignant and ferocious and asserting themselves and making a determination that this society is pushed forth by us, that they don't have any thoughts in their head at all. How belittling it is for them to put out this nonsense. And it's even discrediting to the people who pushed this ridiculousness. Richard Wolff sent out a tweet. Now, as you know, the yellow vests, the protest that sprung up over the fuel tax that Macron was putting through, for the standpoint of the American audience, imagine them putting a tax on gas and taking gas to $7 a gallon. Gas in the United States is like $2 a gallon. That's an amazing thing. Combine that with the amelioration of the working class, people's wages being depressed, and tax cuts going to the top 1%. Macron makes the argument of, hey, we got to do something about this climate change stuff. But the oddity is that his doing something about it attacks the people at the bottom part of the economic ladder. Because fact of the matter is, those people are going to have a higher share of their income going towards that gas tax, as opposed to, let's say, the top 1%. If you want to know why these people are pissed off, Richard Wolff, in one chart on Twitter, gets it across in blistering and profoundly brutal terms. Take a look at this. This is right here. Let's flip this. I don't know how long I have a few videos that I'm going to do today. And by the way, if you enjoy the content, please share, like, subscribe, and you can always support through PayPal or Patreon. I'm saying it now because not everybody stays to the end of the video, even though it's not going to be a long video. So, right here. Capitalism's worst nightmare. Aroused citizens realize the power, demand big changes. France's Yellow Jackets movement expands its demands, confronts the government of the 1%. This graph shows who benefits from Macron's current budget. Now, keep in mind, they've scrapped the fuel tax. And just like the Russian Revolution, where it starts over this thing of bread, it goes further beyond once they get the bread. So, yes, they scrap the fuel tax, but it becomes a broader indictment of the system itself, where they want fundamental change of the way the system is organized, including Macron's head. The catch is, though, it's all across the board. You have right-wingers, lefties, and you have somewhere everything in between. You have people who are coming just from this is not necessarily a labor movement. These are just regular people. The vests themselves are required by law to be in their cars. And in this kind of pointing to the system, they took those vests and put those vests on and had gone out and stood and protested and demanded change in the society. The changes range from higher wages, the changes range from leaving the European Union, from not having the environmental stuff put on their backs. It runs the gambit. But the one thing that they'd agree on is that the system, the way it is is grossly unfair and needs to be changed. Look at this chart. Winners and losers in France 2018-2019 budget. The percent change in disposable income for all households. Look at the bottom. The bottom fifth lose out. They lose. Like they less disposable income. But look at the richest 1%. Look at that. Look at that. That is amazing, right? The bottom part of the economic ladder decimated. Utterly decimated. The top, bam. Magnificently well. Thanks, Macron. If you are top 1%er, Macron is your best friend. Macron has done you extraordinarily well. If you are just a regular person in France, he has done you a magnificent disservice. If you want to know why they are out there standing and raising their fists and raising their voices and asserting that the system itself is problematic, the system itself is not necessarily working for them, in the same way that Brits did with Brexit. If you notice, when French start saying Frexit, doesn't necessarily sound as good as Brexit, but it's probably just because Brexit is, we're used to it. It's not atypical. I mean, I guess I'm saying it's not a coincidence. Their displeasure with the system has certain effects. And the way people express it, especially if they don't necessarily know how to fix it, comes out in particular ways. In the case of Brexit, they were given a choice, and they made a choice because they were pissed off, and they, for whatever reason, thought their lot would be better outside of the European Union. Same thing with Trump and Hillary. They thought their lot would be better off with a wild card as opposed to going along the way that things were already going. And in Brussels right now, the protests that are taking place, this is not going to be the last, especially if this doesn't get changed. And they're still protesting now, meaning they have plans for next week. And trade unions have started to assert themselves, meaning trade unions have started to get in on this. Those protests are going to get bigger. And again, their aims have gotten much larger. Don't let them sucker you into this idea of some Russian nonsense. This is a homegrown grassroots movement. And again, right here, people who already were having a hard time, Macron is punching them squarely in the balls. People who already had a magnificent time in the economy, Macron is rubbing those testicles extraordinarily, gently, and so delicately. That's kind of a gross joke, but you get my point. The richest 1% is going to gain magnificently well from what Macron is doing, while those people who are out there protesting and complaining right here, there's a reason that they have broad, like 70% support. Everybody recognizes that is grossly unfair. So I'm not going to keep this one long because I have a few other ones that I want to do. John Hill, where is Buzzsaw? Buzzsaw decided not to come on today. He was supposed to come on at 2 p.m. My bus didn't get in until I think it was like after 2. It was like 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I hit him up and asked him if he could be available at 5 p.m. He told me no, he cannot be available at 5 p.m. and said maybe tomorrow. So if we're being fair, I didn't have anything planned for today because I was going to be traveling all day. When he canceled yesterday, I kind of just threw it in the lurch. So maybe he comes tomorrow. Hopefully he comes tomorrow. Oh, by the way, Cal is going to be on the show on Tuesday. And Laura Steiner is going to be on the show coming up this week also. I'm going to end this. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. I like Cal. I've always liked Cal. I don't. Yeah, I've always liked Cal.